It's not hard to find really bad cold emails. Almost all of them are horrible. If your emails look anything like this, then it's time to stop, throw it all out, and start over because this never works. It's easy to take the lazy approach and think, well, yeah, it's not great, but if I send 10,000 of them, well, with today's spam filtering algorithms, you're going to land in junk folders very quickly, and remember, a 0% conversion rate scaled up to 1,000,000 emails is still 0 sales. Now, this email might not seem relevant to what you do, but I promise there is a lot to learn from it. There are some really common mistakes here that kill the conversation before it even starts, and you can learn from them to make your own emails much better. So with that said, let's do some magic. Before we even get into the main message, there are a couple of things that stick out. Reply with stop to opt out. This is a super common mistake to make, but it's essentially confusing cold email with marketing newsletters. Even if you're sending cold email at scale, it's still at the core a message from one person to another person. I never opted in to receive anything, so there shouldn't be anything to opt out of. There is no situation where I should continue receiving messages long term from this person if I don't eventually respond positively. This tells everyone immediately that this is not a personal email. It's automated and it is 100% unsolicited spam. The funny thing is, I received this email a good while back and there never was a follow-up, so the opt-out is a bit pointless. And always remember to follow up. It's super important. I have closed way more sales from follow-up emails than I ever have from the first emails sent out. The subject isn't the worst imaginable, but you're pitching a B2B service on a professional level. Grammar conventions are all about context and understanding norms. In this situation, you really want to avoid all lowercase. It comes off as very casual and unprofessional. The same goes for the email address. When people don't recognize you, they pay way more attention to the email address than you might think. And if they want to vet you before responding, this is where they might look to try to find a website to visit. It's a huge red flag if, as a professional service provider, it seems like you can't be bothered to spend $8 a year on a domain name and $6 a month on a G Suite account. Opening with a generic "hey" is one of those things where if you are able to snag the name of the company, you really should also collect the first name of the person you're reaching out to. And if that information just isn't available, then it's time to change your lead source to one with more comprehensive data. I'm also going to slightly contradict a bit of what I said about the subject line when it comes to the company name. It's really important to think about how real people communicate. In a real email, would someone say Empirical Digital Agency, or would they likely just say Empirical? Shorter is usually better and it's more genuine. This is Sales 101. If you start off with questions, you want them to be automatic yes responses to prime the prospect to engage positively. If there were some situation where you would need this to be a yes, then the lead list should be based on job postings and you should only reach out to companies that you know are currently hiring a media buyer. I definitely am not, so I'm immediately out. But maybe I could still benefit from having a media buyer and I just haven't considered it yet. This is a great opportunity to instead focus on a pain point, a problem that most people in my situation would have, and stress that, capture attention, and get a yes response. If an expert media buyer negotiated 20% lower rates on all of your advertising buys, how much would that save you? Now you have my attention. How much would this save? A metric poop shoot load. The testing without charge for 30 days line isn't a bad offer, but the line before that really comes down to reading the situation. You're targeting agency owners, presumably already with a system in place to purchase media on behalf of their clients. This is spending real money on things that are mission critical. To an agency owner, this line, at this stage of the conversation, is terrifying. Free or not, throwing someone I don't know into the mix to manage a large and extremely important budget is a hard no, and it being free almost makes it more terrifying. Imagine explaining to a client that you're taking this month's budget out of the hands of the in-house staff that they're used to and turning it over to a stranger overseas who is working for free. Asking a question like this to someone who doesn't know you is always going to be a very passionate no. The reply back with yes and I'll send more info line is also off-putting. Specifically stating the word to reply with in quotes feels like a text message saying reply stop to end these messages. It feels extremely automated. That's not how real people talk at all. Just ask the person if they have interest in talking it over. The I'll get back to you with more info pushes this even farther away from being a real conversation. This first email is the foot in the door, especially if I might be trusting someone with my advertising budget. I would want to know that I can reach out and talk to a real person and ask questions and have a conversation. Sending more info feels like I'm not entirely human to you. Another issue with this whole message is that it feels very spammy because there's no implied reason why this stranger is talking to me. Take 30 seconds to find something out about the person that you're reaching out to. In 2 hours, you can personalize 240 messages at that rate. Let's add a little something there to kick things off. Okay, the last thing to touch on here is the signature. If you're not from one of the major developed first world countries, the United States, Canada, the UK, Australia, or the like, and I want to word this very carefully because there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, but if you're reaching out to one of those countries, you have to understand it will raise red flags until they get a chance to know you. You can absolutely still do business, but all of this information is really unneeded. Nobody's going to send you a letter through the mail. Combined with everything else, this just makes people even more hesitant to respond. Save those details for after you've started talking or just put the address on your website. So after some tweaking, now we have, hey Ryan, your cold email videos have gotten me really motivated to the point that I had to reach out and ask you a burning question. If an expert media buyer negotiated 20% lower rates on all of your ad spend, how much would that save you? That's a big claim, I know. If you snag a spot on my Calendly, I'd love to go over the details and offer you a 30-day trial run to prove it. The difference here is night and day. Honestly, if this message popped up in my inbox, I would at least reply to it, and depending on the timing, I might potentially book a quick call out of curiosity. One thing is for certain, I wouldn't be using it as an example in a video on how not to do cold email.